They arrived before the sun was up. Veterans from Valley City, Bismarck, Strasburg, Fargo, Moorhead, and beyond. Men of valor. 91 area veterans on the trip of a lifetime, off to Washington, D.C. to see memorials built in their honor. Tonight, a special Veterans Day presentation of WDAY's Honor Flight. Honor and Remembrance. More than 800 of our area veterans have made the memorable trip to Washington since the WDAY Honor Flights began back in 2007. But this one is different. For the first time, more Korean War veterans than ever before.
That's why so many daughters and sons are accompanying their fathers here to Washington. The memorials, the monuments. Some come here to remember, others to heal. All come here to be honored. The veterans were ready to take the nation's capital by storm.
Welcome to D.C. Thank you so much for coming. Thanks for your service. Enjoy your visit.
But they were not ready for a welcome and thank you like this.
Heard that there was an honor flight arriving and thought we weren't going to miss out on the opportunity to greet these guys.
Strangers waiting for flights, those arriving on business, stopped in their tracks, picked up a sign, and with so many others, wept as the veterans, one by one, arrived in Washington, D.C.
I've already teared up several times, and now I'm finally like, okay, take a deep breath, because every time you look into their eyes, it's pretty touching.
Mary Pat Powers of Texas walked by the crowd and noise and knew she had to take part.
It's very special. It's really an honor to get to be here to greet them.
Here.
This welcoming Daisy Girl Scout troop from Virginia waved their flags and handmade posters to greet our Honor Flight veterans. The first thing they saw and heard coming off the plane.
Hi, how you doing there? Huh? I'm glad to be here.
I'm overwhelmed. I'm not supposed to cry, but...
And Kylie Hensley stood waiting proudly for her veteran, her father from Carrington, North Dakota.
There he is.
Oh, there he is?
He's coming off right now.
I gotta get a picture.
Bringing her daughter with to welcome the World War II hero, Grandpa Roland Peterson.
Oh, I love you, dearly. Oh.
This is why they came, to be remembered and honored.
Oh,
Leon Kopp calls the North Dakota Veterans Home in Lisbon his family now.
Of course, I didn't have a father, just my mother and my brothers and sisters. And I said, well, there's no jobs, and my mother had a hard time, with all those kids, so that made I wanted to go in the service.
The 88-year-old veteran of World War II lied about his age to get into the service.
And there was a guy here, a retired Army guy, he knew a guy in Portland, Oregon. He said, he can get you in the Navy.
He was tired of milking cows for $2 a week, so the handsome North Dakota boy went into the Navy. South Pacific, tough battles. Iwo Jima.
February 19th, the assault waves hit simultaneously on the dot. From now on, it's up to the Marines.
That was the most bloodiest place I've ever seen in my life.
Hundreds of bomb-proof pillboxes overlook the invasion beach. There is no choice but to storm them one by one.
That one, I don't know how. There was 48 of us in my unit went on there, and I think there was only 4 of us came off. That was death row. That was the worst thing. I'd never ever want to go through that again. I can, to this day, I can hear it. You just stand there, and he was on there 15 minutes, and one of my best buddies, a machine he got and just cut him right in half. I never got as much, not a scratch, and standing right next to it, So I guess the man upstairs was looking after it.
And that is why, on this honor flight,
oh, this is what I want to see.
The statue that symbolizes so much for veterans like Leon Kopp.
Can't believe it.
Thank you. Isn't that great? You made it?
It is, right? Yeah. I never thought I'd ever see it. Here it is, the monument. 30 days of hell. Yeah, this is something. This is worth the whole trip right here.
Today, up close, in his heart, memories of those he lost at Iwo Jima.
A lot of buddies that were there. Not here. Yeah. God.
And for Leon, a trip he knows he will never make again.
Yeah, because I never thought I'd ever see it.
And why this stop meant so much to him.
Yeah, and I had some very good friends that are still there.
And the Honor Flight veterans received a red carpet welcome at the National Archives in Washington, D.C. Here, the doors opened early, so these veterans could see firsthand the very documents they fought to defend: the Constitution, Bill of Rights, Declaration of Independence. The veterans also took a group picture alongside the surrendering documents from World War II, the war they all remember.
From the historic to the somber and sacred, Arlington National Cemetery and the changing of the guard, one by one, our veterans walked or rolled to the tomb of the unknown soldier. Every hour, a new honor guard. Those soldiers are there 24/7, 365 days a year, no matter what the weather. And when the guard is changed, silence and respect. And every one of our veterans there, no matter their health, stood at attention.
Ready? Face! Presents! On!
Still to come tonight, most on this honor flight are either World War II or Korean War veterans. But one Moorhead man served in not one, not two, but 3 conflicts.
Plus, meet a Korean War vet from Fertile, Minnesota, who comes to Washington, D.C. to remember friends lost in the war.
Milt Arneson is a rare man, a veteran of 3 wars, World War II, Korea, and Vietnam, a decorated soldier in all 3. From a Victory Medal in World War II to the plane he flew in the Korean War, Milt's apartment is loaded with memories.
See, we had doors that opened in the front so you could drive equipment in, and then we had an elevator in the back so we could lift things up or unload them through the back end.
He spent 27 years in the Air Force, flying 225 combat missions in Korea and Vietnam. Milt lost a lot of friends in both the Korean and Vietnam wars, fighter pilots.
So many good men, oh my, so many good men over there.
But his greatest memory was a life-saving one.
Most memorable is the airlift out of Panmunjom for the island of Cheonju-do, moving those orphans.
After retiring as a colonel in 1973, Milt dabbled in politics, rubbing shoulders with Vice President Gerald Ford. He even met the Shah of Iran. But his mission this fall came from his church. Presented with a quilt of valor, Milt proudly took that quilt to every war memorial in D.C.
There are names here that I remember.
No kidding.
Remember the names because they were involved in a lot of the air warfare over Vietnam.
His daughter says memories have been pouring out of her father, like many of the veterans on this trip. Milt says the memories are both good and bad. But serving, he says, gave him true discipline and an appreciation for life. A rare life for Milt Arneson that's been well lived.
Pretty peaceful out here in the evenings.
There's no place Tom Cronschnabel would rather be on a cool fall day.
Yeah, you can't beat woodworking.
The retired home builder from Fertile, Minnesota, in his wood shop, carving away. As this Korean War vet prepared to leave for honor flight, thoughts turned to those days as a rifleman with Company G.
A lot of frostbite, a lot of kids lost their fingers and toes, and yeah, it was cold.
Tom, wounded twice. After you were stitched up and felt better, they sent you back?
Right back to the same place, yeah.
Heartbreak Ridge. Tough days in Korea.
We took quite a few hills. Yeah, it was no fun place.
Yeah, do you think of those days over there much once in a while?
Oof, just about every day. Yeah, there's a lot of bad memories.
And so, here in Washington, from Arlington Cemetery and the Tomb of the Unknowns,
Right shoulder, arms.
to the memorial Tom wanted to see.
Yeah, to see all the kids that went to pot over there, you know. And, it was no fun at all.
The Korean War Memorial. Honor Flight would be the time for this veteran to pause and remember. You know, you lost some buddies. I mean, so when you came up here, I bet you can't help but think of them, huh?
Oh, God, yeah. Yeah, there's many nights you don't. Yeah, it brings back a lot of memories, I'll tell you that.
And walking with all these other veterans was a man all too familiar with war.
Well, there's some armor over here, Eric.
Eric Martz of Moorhead lost his vision after serving in Iraq. Today, he and his dog Deacon and Eric's brother walk and feel their way through the Korean War Memorial in Washington, D.C.
There's one, if you want to follow my hand.
Missing today, their father, Bill Martz, an Air Force veteran who had planned on coming on this honor flight.
Steve was Dad's escort, and I was going to mean so much.
But died a short time ago. But the boys brought a piece of him here, dog tags, and a P-38.
He had carried kind of as a good luck symbol, and he gave it to me, so it's made it through Desert Storm and then Operation Iraqi Freedom, so I guess it's kind of a generation to generation thing.
A way to honor a man among the other Korean War vets here on Honor Flight who came to this moving, sometimes haunting memorial.
I guess neither he or I will be able to physically see the memorial, but I guess I've got him here and here and here.
When we come back on Honor and Remembrance, the one veteran on this flight I have a personal connection to, my dad.
Plus the only husband-wife veteran team to come on Honor Flight. Both served. That's next.
Of the 91 veterans on this honor flight, one stands out to me, my dad, a Korean War veteran. I should know him better than anyone else on this trip, but I found out there's a lot I didn't know. Growing up, he never talked about his time in Korea. Never.
Nobody ever asked me. I did my time over there.
Signing up for Honor Flight changed everything. As he glanced over his Korean War scrapbook, preparing for this trip, you would swear it was the 1950s all over again.
We had trouble with the boat, so we got a 24-hour pass and a $20 bill to go into Hawaii, but most of the bars were off limits. They wouldn't let us go in anyway.
Oh, serious?
So we drank pineapple juice.
At 85, my dad doesn't get around the way he used to. His eyes don't see clearly anymore. But time has not touched his mind of events from more than 60 years ago, like when he was drafted in 1951.
That's the first time I saw my dad cry. It was when I went overseas.
Or his buddies lost in the war, and he had to identify their bodies.
He was out shaving behind the bunker when they shot a mortar in a shrapnel, just killed him.
While my brothers and sister didn't hear about war, we felt the military presence. He preached getting up early, that paying your taxes was a privilege, and to put your hand over your heart during the national anthem.
Privilege to serve. All our young people should have maybe a year's service, not necessarily Army service, but service.
And everyone should have an experience like Honor Flight. Things on the bucket list, checked off. Finding a second cousin's name on the Vietnam Wall. Seeing a memorial built in this Korean War vet's honor. And for being treated like men of valor by complete strangers.
Thank you for serving. Thank you. I gotta take this cap and jacket off. I'm starting to feel embarrassed.
As a father and two of his sons talked in the shadows of war memorials, hopefully there is a little healing from this war, a bonding of Mogck boys, and a realization we now know a little bit more about our father and his service to country. No matter where these veterans went on this trip, they were treated with respect and honor. When the veterans gathered, so did crowds, sometimes big crowds. At their final gathering as a group, these men of valor, who arrived strangers, posed for a group picture.
We got to get them between two people.
Like long-lost teammates, together for a reunion.
There's a gentleman, second row, farthest over. I can't see him at all.
And while photographers primped and posed the veterans,
I think we're pretty darn close.
People from D.C., tourists, and anyone walking by stopped. Eyes peeled, cameras aimed. Sometimes applause rang out. These strangers were in awe of these men who served their country.
Everybody looking right here at me. Good, here we go, gentlemen. Great job, guys, great job.
When John and Delilah Wagner arrived in Washington, D.C. as part of the honor flight crew, they made a little history. The only husband and wife veteran team on this flight. Delilah, now 83, was an Army Reserve nurse. Her husband John flew in the back of a torpedo bomber during World War II. As John took in the World War II memorial, Delilah found something she'd only read about, the memorial to military nurses.
That's really something.
What's that?
That's very touching.
A tribute to those nurses who played such a life-saving role during the war then and now.
This is awesome, and I think this should be told to more so that everyone sees it.
Does it make you proud to be a nurse?
Yes, very, very much so.
What regiment were you in?
You in the 94th. I was in D Company with 3rd Army.